back, everyone. So we're looking again at our Cartesian plane, but this time we're looking at rotations. So to start off, we're going to draw an image onto our Cartesian plane that we get to play around with. And in this case, we're going to start off with just a simple black image. And we're going to start, one of our points is going to be 4 and 4. So again, as always, I start off with my X point and then I put in my Y value. And let's make it a triangle this time. So we're going to go up by 4 points again. Get my second point to the third point to the triangle. And let's go out by a little bit more than 4 points. Let's go out by 6 points. Perfect. And I'll draw in my lines. Okay. On pen and paper, or even on paper itself, this is much easier than on the computer because you could trace out shapes, you could draw shapes, you could use your pencil as a manipulative to understand this. On the computer, you need to rely a little bit more on math, but that's okay because then you really understand how this is going to work. First things first is we need to figure out where our rotation point is going to be. In the very beginning of when you're learning this, typically we make a rotation point around 0, 0. So then this triangle would rotate over to here. And then we keep on rotating it until we get to a full rotation. But in this case, we are going to make our rotation point right here. So thinking back to our ordered pair, we have our X first, and then we have our Y. And in this case, our X value is 10. And I'll close the brackets after. And our Y value is 4. And as always, you always want to close those brackets. Cool, and that's our ordered pair. So we want to say that this triangle is going to rotate somehow around this point. So before we even step into that, we're going to look at what is clockwise and what is counterclockwise. As you're probably familiar with, a clock has a noon up at the top, a 12. And I'll draw that twice because I'm going to have 2 examples. Clockwise is when we rotate around the clock from left to right, just as if it's a second hand going around the clock. Counterclockwise is when you rotate the opposite way. If your clock has a second hand that rotates this way, you need to change your battery to get it fixed. So that's our hints just up there. Okay. So we are going to label saying that we have a rotation point. Thank you for your patience. Rotation point of, and we have already written it down, but I'm going to write it again. 10 and 4. Again, the first numbers are X value and the second numbers are Y value. And we are going to say that we are going to rotate. How do we want to rotate this today? We're going to rotate clockwise. Rotation point of 10 and 4. Rotate clockwise. So I used a short form there. For clockwise, we use CW, counterclockwise, CCW. Okay, now great. So we know that we're rotating clockwise, but we need even more information. By how many degrees? So, as we know, a right angle is going from here to straight up and down. That is actually what we're going to rotate by. But if we wanted to go farther than that, we have 90 degrees here, 180 degrees. And then if we did a full rotation, it would be 360 degrees, and there's lots of measurements in between. So we're going to rotate counterclockwise by 90 degrees. So this is all the information that we need to know in order to move this triangle. So again, on paper, this is a lot easier. You get to cut out a piece of paper, you get to move it around, and you could just copy down the points. It's easy. The next way to do that I find the easiest, is you count your points. As we already know by drawing this out, we know that from 10 to 4, it's 6 points. So now we could count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or by using our math skills, we also know that that point there will actually land up here. And then we know from 4 to 8 is 4 points. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we also could use our simple math and understand that 10 to 14 is 4 points. And if we look at that, we already have our outline to our triangle. So I'm going to draw in my lines. There we go. Now we figured out how to do rotations on the Cartesian plane. A few things that we want to remember. Clockwise is CW, counterclockwise, CCW, and counterclockwise is going the opposite direction to what our clock usually does. Clockwise, as you could probably guess, is going the right direction as to a clock goes. There's a few pieces of information that in a question I will provide you, or if I ask you in the opposite direction that you have to provide me. What is the rotation point? In this case, it's 10 and 4. That's our ordered pair. And then you also have to tell me what direction it's going to rotate in. So again, we're going to remind ourselves clockwise or counterclockwise. And in this case, it went clockwise. And by how many degrees it's going to rotate. And in this case, it went from this point to this point, which is 90 degrees. If we go a full rotation off to this side here, it's 180 degrees. We have 280, we have 360, and if it was 360, it would land right back here. Okay, thank you guys, and let me know if you have any questions.